Welcome, everyone. We're diving deep into A Course in Miracles again, and today we're landing on Lesson 152.
Hello. Yes, lesson 152. It's quite pivotal, really. It pulls together so much of what the Course teaches.
It really does. So, as we usually do, we'll start with the lesson itself, we'll read it through completely, and then we'll get into our discussion about it.
Okay, let's begin.
The power of decision is my own.
No one can suffer loss unless it be his own decision. No one suffers pain except his choice elects this state for him.
No one can grieve, nor fear, nor think him sick unless these are the outcomes that he wants. And no one dies without his own consent.
Nothing occurs but represents your wish, and nothing is omitted that you choose. Here is your world, complete in all details.
Here is its whole reality for you, and it is only here salvation is.
You may believe that this position is extreme and too inclusive to be true, yet can truth have exceptions?
If you have the gift of everything, can loss be real? Can pain be part of peace or grief of joy?
Can fear and sickness enter in a mind where love and perfect holiness abide? Truth must be all-inclusive if it be the truth at all.
Accept no opposites and no exceptions, for to do so is to contradict the truth entirely.
Salvation is the recognition that the truth is true and nothing else is true. This you have heard before, but may not yet accept both parts of it.
Without the first, the second has no meaning. But without the second, is the first no longer true. Truth cannot have an opposite.
This cannot be too often said and thought about. For if what is not true is true as well as what is true, then part of truth is false, and truth has lost its meaning.
Nothing but the truth is true, and what is false is false.
This is the simplest of distinctions, yet the most obscure, but not because it is a difficult distinction to perceive.
It is concealed behind a vast array of choices that do not appear to be entirely your own.
And thus, the truth appears to have some aspects that belie consistency, but do not seem to be but contradictions introduced by you.
As God created you, you must remain unchangeable, with transitory states by definition false.
And that includes all shifts in feeling, alterations in conditions of the body and the mind, in all awareness and in all response.
This is the all-inclusiveness which sets the truth apart from falsehood, and the false kept separate from the truth as what it is.
Is it not strange that you believe to think you made the world you see as arrogance? God made it not. Of this you can be sure.
What can he know of the ephemeral, the sinful and the guilty, the afraid, the suffering and lonely, and the mind that lives within a body that must die?
You but accuse him of insanity to think he made a world where such things seem to have reality. He is not mad, yet only madness makes a world like this.
To think that God made chaos, contradicts his will, invented opposites to truth, and suffers death to triumph over life, all this is arrogance. Humility would see at once these things are not of him.
And can you see what God created not? To think you can is merely to believe you can perceive what God willed not to be.
And what could be more arrogant than this?
Let us today be truly humble and accept what we have made as what it is. The power of decision is our own.
Decide but to accept your rightful place as co-creator of the universe, and all you think you made will disappear.
What rises to awareness then will be all that there ever was, eternally as it is now. And it will take the place of self-deceptions made, but to usurp the altar to the Father and the Son.
Today, we practice true humility, abandoning the false pretense by which the ego seeks to prove it arrogant. Only the ego can be arrogant.
But truth is humble in acknowledging its mightiness, its changelessness, and its eternal wholeness, all-encompassing God's perfect gifts to his beloved Son.
We lay aside the arrogance which says that we are sinners, guilty and afraid, ashamed of what we are, and lift our hearts in true humility instead to him who has created us immaculate, like to himself in power and in love.
The power of decision is our own, and we accept of him that which we are and humbly recognize the Son of God.
To recognize God's Son implies as well that all self-concepts have been laid aside and recognize as false. Their arrogance has been perceived.
And in humility, the radiance of God's Son, his gentleness, his perfect sinlessness, his Father's love, his right to heaven and release from hell are joyously accepted as our own.
Now do we join in glad acknowledgement that lies are false and only truth is true. We think of truth alone as we arise and spend 5 minutes practicing its ways, encouraging our frightened minds with this.
The power of decision is my own. This day I will accept myself as what my Father's will created me to be.
Then will we wait in silence, giving up all self-deceptions, as we humbly ask ourselves that he reveal himself to us.
And he who never left will come again to our awareness, graceful to restore his home to God as it was meant to be.
In patience, wait for him throughout the day and hourly invite him with the words with which the day began, concluding it with the same invitation to yourself.
God's voice will answer, for he speaks for you and for your Father. He will substitute the peace of God for all your frantic thoughts, the truth of God for self-deceptions, and God's Son for your illusions of yourself.
All right, that was lesson 152, The Power of Decision is My Own. Let's start unpacking that.
Yes, it really is a cornerstone lesson, reflecting that core idea we keep coming back to in the Course, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Recognizing our true nature, our spiritual identity, and letting go of all the illusions, this lesson just lays it out so well, so directly.
It does. And I think what often strikes people first, and perhaps feels a bit challenging, is that very strong statement that everything we experience, the good and the bad, so to speak, comes down to our own choice.
Right, that's the crux of it, isn't it? Pain, loss, fear, even death, the lesson says. These aren't things happening to us from outside.
They're outcomes of decisions made within the mind, often unconsciously, of course, but decisions nonetheless. The world we see is kind of a mirror of those inner choices.
So real freedom, then, isn't about changing the world out there, but about recognizing this power inside and making a different choice internally.
Exactly. And that's why that question can be so helpful when difficult feelings arise. What is this feeling for? Is it there to reinforce the ego's story, the sense of limitation, or is it maybe a disguised call for healing, for love?
That ties right into what we saw in lesson 130. It is impossible to see two worlds. You can't have both peace and pain, love and fear, occupying the same space in your mind at the same time.
You're always choosing. Choosing the ego's world, separation, fear, or the Holy Spirit's world, unity, love. And salvation, as the Course defines it, means choosing only the true world, the one seen through the Holy Spirit's eyes.
And the ego is so clever at distracting us from that choice, isn't it? Using conflict, negativity, making us feel like victims.
Yes. It keeps us focused outward, forgetting that we have this inherent ability to interpret everything differently. Reminds me of those earlier lessons.
Like lesson 31, I am not the victim of the world I see.
Exactly. Or lesson 34, I could see peace instead of this. They both point to this power to override the ego's narrative. Any inconsistency, any conflict we perceive, it's actually originating from our own divided mind.
Let's dig a bit deeper into that idea that anything changeable, anything impermanent belongs to the ego. True reality, the Course says, is constant.
That's a key distinction. So those fluctuations we all experience, moods shifting, health changing, circumstances seeming to improve or worsen, they become opportunities. Opportunities to look at the thoughts behind them.
Because emotions follow perception, and perception can be healed.
Right. Even when you feel completely stuck, maybe trapped by circumstances, the freedom to choose your perspective on those circumstances, that freedom is always there. The meaning the world has for you, it comes from you.
So when we look out and see, maybe in the news or just around us, a world that seems full of hate and conflict, lesson 152 is saying that's the illusion. That's not reflecting our true self.
Correct, because that negativity contradicts our fundamental nature, which is love. Conversely, when we experience or perceive love and peace, that's the glimpse of reality. That's our true self shining through.
It's important to clarify, though, this isn't about denying that pain feels real in the ego's world. Trauma is experienced.
Oh, absolutely. The lesson isn't asking us to pretend suffering doesn't happen within the dream, but it is asking us to recognize that our core identity, our true self, remains completely untouched by it. That recognition is what starts to loosen the suffering's grip.
And perhaps the most helpful thing we can offer someone else who's in pain is that gentle reminder of their own untouched, perfect nature.
Yes, because ultimately, beneath all the ego's interpretations, only love is truly being given and received. That's the underlying reality.
Now, this brings up something people often ask about. How does this relate to, say, the law of attraction?
Yes, that's a really good point to explore, because on the surface, there seem to be parallels, right? This lesson says, nothing occurs but represents your wish, which sounds a bit like manifesting through thought.
It does, but the underlying mechanics and the ultimate goal seem quite different.
They are. Let's take an example. Say someone we'll call Sarah is feeling really inadequate about her career, struggling financially perhaps. How would each approach work?
Okay, so law of attraction might say Sarah's feelings of inadequacy are creating a vibration that attracts more lack, more reasons to feel inadequate.
Right. And the solution would be to consciously shift that vibration.
Yeah.
Focus on positive affirmations, visualize success, feel abundant now to attract abundance externally. If she keeps struggling, The thinking is usually there's some hidden resistance, a limiting belief she hasn't cleared yet.
So the focus is very much on changing the outer circumstances by managing the inner state to match the desired outcome.
Exactly. Now, how would the Course approach Sarah's situation?
Well, the Course would see her feelings of inadequacy and financial struggle primarily as symptoms of a deeper belief in separation from her true self, from love, from God, from abundance, which is inherent.
Yes, the suffering comes from identifying with the ego's story of lack. So the path isn't primarily about changing the outer form, but about changing the perception through forgiveness.
Forgiving herself for buying into those limiting beliefs, forgiving the world or others she might blame.
Precisely. That forgiveness brings about the miracle, the shift in perception. It might not mean an instant promotion or windfall, but it means realizing her inherent worth, finding inner peace regardless of the job title or bank balance.
And from that place of peace, any actions she takes in the world, looking for a job, managing finances, come from a different space.
Exactly. Not from fear or lack, but from a sense of wholeness. If the struggle continues externally, the Course sees it as an invitation for deeper forgiveness, more surrender of the ego's perspective.
So the core difference really is law of attraction seeks to align vibrations to manifest specific external changes, while the Course seeks to change internal perception through forgiveness to realize inherent peace, which might or might not change the external, but changes how you experience it.
That sums it up well. The Course doesn't say don't pay your bills or look for work. It just advocates doing it from a mindset of peace and love, not fear and victimhood.
Okay. That distinction is really helpful. Let's talk about the practice for this lesson. How do we actually apply this power of decision?
The practice is quite direct. It asks you to consciously realize, especially at the start of the day, that you can choose the kind of day you'll have.
Choose your feelings. Choose the guidance you'll accept. Choose how you'll experience encounters, even the circumstances themselves.
Yes. The idea is that the world you then experience will reflect that choice. It confirms the decision you made internally.
And it's interesting how the lesson points out that you don't need to figure out how it works initially, just make the decision.
Right. The how isn't the focus. The commitment to the decision is the first step, making the choice to see and experience a loving, peaceful world.
And the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. Your experience will shift to confirm that choice.
And part of the practice involves that quiet time, those 5 minutes in the morning, and then hourly reminders. It's about intentionally setting aside the usual chatter, the ego's judgments and beliefs.
But to see what's underneath, to allow that quiet, true self to emerge into awareness.
It's presented as that first step towards directly experiencing the truth the lesson talks about, quieting the noise to hear the voice for God.
This lesson really does feel like it holds immense potential for changing everything about how we experience life.
It truly does. It feels like so many of the previous lessons were building towards this clear statement of our inherent power and responsibility.
Yes, you can really see the threads connecting back. And just a reminder for everyone listening, if you do want to revisit any of those earlier lessons we touched upon, those deep dives are available.
Absolutely, they're there for you. And please do share your thoughts or questions on this lesson or any others. We always appreciate hearing from you. You can email us at acim@theworldharmonyproject.org.
That's ACIM@theworldharmonyproject.org. And you can also find us on TikTok at The World Harmony Project.
We'd love to connect there too.
Well, thank you for joining us for this exploration today.
Thank you. It's always illuminating to delve into these lessons.
We'll see you for Lesson 153 tomorrow.